Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. This episode, we're talking about the combine. Some players might be interested in some things going on there, and really, with the combine, the biggest thing is people talking behind the scenes. They're kind of breaking the rules a little bit, but it happens. Everyone knows. And we're also going to talk about some rules changes that people are either wanting to talk about or could be happening. Let's just start with that, and let's start with the fun one. Let's start with the tush push. People are whining, people are crying because they can't stop it and they think it should be illegal. Now, if there's a legit health concern, like there's some player safety and they can show stats behind it, okay, I get it. But just because you can't stop it, I mean, people can't stop the forward pass. I'm not gonna get rid of the forward pass. So, I mean, what you got to do is not let the specifically the Eagles get to third and one, fourth and one. Stop them from getting to the 1 yard to gain, and you don't have to worry about that play anymore. And the Green Bay Packers put in this whole thing out where they were the one that voted no on it, and they're saying that it shouldn't be a play that should be allowed and all this, and they're talking about their history, and they're just complaining because they couldn't stop it when they played the Eagles twice, and really nobody stopped it. Can someone figure it out? Maybe. Is it an unfair play? I don't think so. It's just the Eagles doing what they are the strongest at. Strength in the offensive line, pushing. They have a quarterback that can squat 600 plus pounds. They're just utilizing what they have to their best ability. It's kind of like when Tyreek Hill's with the Chiefs. Was it fair that he could run by everybody and Holmes just had a cannon for an arm and chunked it deep? It's not fair. Can you stop it? It's really hard to. Was that going to be illegal? No. It's not going to be illegal to be super fast. So I just think it's just silly. Silly to complain about unless there's some actual health concerns. If that's the case, okay, I can get on board with that. But just figure out a way to stop it. That's my that's my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, I guess the comment I'd add from a Philly fan perspective is when's the two times that we talked about this rule? When the Eagles went to the Super Bowl.
That's a good point.
And
That's a good point.
it comes off awful petty,
It really
because
does.
last year when the Eagles were a terrible team as far as at the end of the season, and by the way, no one talks about this, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they faced the Eagles, they stopped the Eagles on, I think, two out of three tush push Beverly
Interesting.
shove plays. And
Interesting. It helps to have Vita Vea up there, but that is interesting.
but it's not just Vita Vea.
hmm
Uh, Todd Bowles does an awesome job on defense
He is
of
very underrated.
preparing.
He
Uh,
is very underrated.
if he had a better, consistent offensive play, I think he would be more successful. That's his Achilles heel right now is
hmm
the offense is not coming through in those big clutch
Yeah.
moments. I mean
Yeah.
that Commanders Buccaneers game, uh, Baker Mayfield did not show up. I mean, just
Nope.
really big misses that just
hmm
hurt the
He had a
team
Sam
so
Darnold
bad.
type game.
Yeah, I mean that fumble and
hmm
I can't remember what I think it was the third quarter, like at their own 20 after they just gotten a turnover and
That was the game
uh,
right there. That fumble. That was the game.
just so many moments that you just look at, pull out your
hmm
hair and think, oh, dude, we could not do that. Touching back on the brotherly shove thing, so if it's not about them winning, then it's got to be something else. And I think you already
hmm
touched on both options. It's either health, which doesn't
hmm
feel that way for me, especially because this is what I would say. If it was about health, you should be
hmm
able to point to a specific moment.
Right.
You
Right.
should be able to say, here on this play where Chris Jones ankle got crushed, or, he got his arm pinned and it went numb and he had to go out of
Fair.
the
Yeah.
game for,
hmm
two drives, or, if you want to point to something, or, there's several players that after the play reported, discomfort in like their head skull area, and they later
Right. Some
realized
kind
it
of
was a
concussion.
concussion, or
hmm
okay, that's fine. Like, we can talk about that information and process it and look at it. but that's not the discussion. The
Hmm.
discussion is that the play looks so violent and the clash between the both groups is so violent that therefore we just can't risk it.
Hmm.
And it's like I struggle with that because the NFL just looked at kickoffs and decided that kickoffs weren't safe. But did they get rid of kickoffs? No. They changed the
Mm-mm.
structure of the kickoffs and still allow kickoffs.
Hmm.
So you can't tell
Hmm.
me that it's totally safety that you're looking at because you haven't even got rid of the play that still is causing concussions.
The biggest health concern play. Yeah. Because that's people
It's
running as
still
fast as they can. Boom.
it, it's still causing it. Like as they're running
Hmm.
up and down the field, they're still pinpointing that as a big play. Punt returns is another one
Yeah,
where
that's big.
so it's like I'm struggling to see the data of like, okay, what is
Hmm.
this indicating? And even the NFL released a report saying we found that there were no injuries that were reported after these plays. It's
Hmm.
not that there weren't injuries. I'm not saying that NFL players are tough. They can tough things out. Don't always report
Right.
everything, but we have to go off of data, and the data is not indicating
Yep.
that there's a problem. Um, but the other part too is that if this proposal came from a team that had never played the Eagles, and simply just didn't like the play for health safety,
Hmm.
that's one thing. But this came
Right.
against a team that lost
Hmm.
twice to the Eagles. So
Hmm.
it's absolutely personal. It is
And
personal.
petty.
It is honestly, Andrew, I don't know what I want to happen. I don't know if I want the play to live on and the Eagles play them in the playoffs and then to just use the brotherly shove down the field until they score a
The
touchdown.
whole time. The whole time.
Or do I want them to take away the play and then us still get a first down on a fourth down that wins us the game and then be like, listen, we didn't even need the play anyway?
Hmm. You know what's funny about all that? So a couple points to add on to that. Um, and I think it's just hilarious that it's the Green Bay Packers that are doing this. And it makes my heart happy that it's them. But but so with the injury thing in the Super Bowl, I don't know if you remember, but at the goal line, Chris Jones had
Mm-hmm.
a weird formation. He was
Yeah.
sideways, which is
Mm-hmm.
stupid to begin with. You're allowing people to hit you straight on with their helmet. And he did leave the game for a little bit because he got hit in the side and his side was hurting. Well, duh. Why do you line up like that? Who thought of that? Did Spags say that to him? That's crazy. I don't understand the logic behind that. I understand people jumping over if you time it right, unlike the Commanders. But jumping over the line, trying to grab Jalen before he gets over there. Okay, I can understand that. Trying to go as low as you can to get lower than the Eagles. Okay. Trying to get as much power. Okay, but sideways? What what does that do? I don't know. But the other thing is, if they were to make this play illegal, how are they going to make it illegal? Are they going to make it illegal to push someone from behind? All right. Is that really making much of a difference? They're still going to line up with their big guys up front. Jalen Hurts is just going to do a QB sneak. It's going to be the same exact play, just one person not going to be pushing. And they're still going to have success probably like 80% of the time because of a strong, beefy offensive line and a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds. So it's not going to really change anything. They're still going to use the brotherly shove just without being shoved. Are they going to make the formation illegal where you can't stand in that specific area? All right, fine. They'll figure something else out to make a quarterback sneak for 4th and 1. So it's just really silly. That play needs to be illegal. How are you going to make it illegal? I I don't get it. I know
I
before
don't
it
know.
wasn't allowed for players to push or drag someone. If I don't know what the reasoning behind that was. If it was a safety thing, I don't know. But then it was allowed again, and that's what the Eagles are doing is just Saquon's pushing him. I guess that little extra oomph. If they want to take that away, okay, great. We can't push anymore. We'll have the same formation, and you guys did something brilliant once, and I really wish you would do it more often because you would score so many more touchdowns. You had a fake off of it once.
Yeah,
It
we
was
did.
amazing. I loved it. I saw that play. I was like, oh my gosh, they need to bring that out because no one is expecting that. Everyone's up, okay, we got to stop him. Then all of a sudden you hand it off to Saquon. He's just running down the side with nobody there. Do
Yeah.
it. Come on, Sirianni. I want you to do it.
I would
Just
love
do
it,
it. The
man.
first brotherly shove option, because all this speculation, it needs to be illegal. He needs to do that and say, all right, make it illegal. This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It
Hmm.
the argument framing is illogical to me. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
hard to
silly.
comprehend the. It's just funny because like if everyone could do it, everyone would do it.
Yeah,
Nick
the
Sirianni
Bills
said
have
that.
had some success because they have a huge quarterback. Josh
Yeah,
Allen could do it.
yeah,
They not as good as the Eagles, but they're doing fine. If you want to do it, then hey, maybe you should sign a free agent quarterback that's like 6'6", ton of strength, and just on 4th and 1, throw him in there and say, hey, do the brotherly shove. Then everyone can try to do it.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see how it goes. My guess is that they're going
Hmm.
to be just short of the votes. So,
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be just short because I think there's been a couple people coming out saying, yeah, I don't really like the play, but I don't think they're going to vote against it. I think it's just going to be the Packers, maybe two other teams, and everyone's going to move on with their lives. And the Eagles are going to continue to brotherly shove, and people just got to figure out how to stop it. Why don't you just get so everyone has like what, like 5, 6 defensive tackles on their roster?
mhm.
Put all of them out there. Just take out all your corners, put all the tackles and linebackers, and just power through as strong as you can.
Well, I think you know the answer to that question, Andrew. So what's going to happen is they're going to look at that formation, opt out, and then throw it over the top, and you don't have anyone there.
That's going to be beautiful, and I want that to happen.
That sounds like more selfish reasoning than logical reasoning. You just want to see a beautiful play take place,
I do,
which
I
I
do.
like. I hear you.
I play a lot of I play I used to play a lot of Madden, and whenever I would see someone do an all-out man blitz, I would audible and just chuck it over the top.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I will be watching that one very closely, but
Hmm.
I just don't understand the argument framing. It just
Yeah,
seems so illogical. I
it
don't
does.
understand it, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I think it's in the
Hmm.
early stages, but
Hmm.
clearly this is motivated by the success a team is having. What other way can you
Hmm.
frame it? I mean,
Yep.
there was like almost no discussion about this when the Eagles hit their 6 game slump in 2023. No
Hmm.
one cared.
You
They
guys are still
didn't make
using it.
it's like it's just astounding to me because
Hmm.
I think about Patrick Mahomes and Chris Sims, a popular talking head over at NBC, talks about the Patrick Mahomes side passes, and I think that's a good one.
Mm.
But let's use one more basic. What about a shuffle pass? You flick it forward. You can't flick it underhand. Like, what if we change that rule because they're like, well, I just
Yeah.
don't like it. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
The pass isn't being expected to be in that area. Like that just would be so silly to me to say, you know what, we need to stop the shuffle passes underhand because
And I
it's
can take
just
that one
creating a
further.
dangerous environment.
I can take that one further. They can go as far as whenever a quarterback is scrambling outside, you cannot throw it out of bounds anymore because it's not fair to the defense. They won the
Yeah,
play. They won the
yeah,
play by getting you out of the pocket, pressuring you, and then you just throw it out of bounds and it's like nothing happened. Why not throw a penalty on that? Like, no, that's intentional grounding because you're intentionally throwing it out of bounds with no one around because you're out of the pocket and it's fair. Why not change that rule?
yeah. Yeah, I'm just astounded by it.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's definitely. I had a good laugh when I saw that it was the Packers.
Oh, I was just so full of joy when I read that. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. That was hilarious.
Well, now you
That
can
is the
hold that over
Packers.
all your Packers friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one at work. I'm gonna say, hey, so that's gonna be fun. But there are two other rule changes that are either happening or should happen that I want to touch on. I don't know if you had any others
Yeah,
as well.
no,
Um,
go ahead.
but the first one that I think they are changing is the replay assist stuff. So, especially with flags. So, I believe if what I read it correctly, what they're doing is if there's been a flag thrown, replay assist can take it away if they see it wasn't a flag. They can't add a flag. So, for example, if there was a face mask that the refs didn't see in the back of the end zone against a quarterback and that's trying to win a game when it was clearly his head's getting yanked off. If that happen, if they don't see that,
If that
just
happens
randomly, if
again,
that happens, if that ever happens,
if
like it
it's the
would,
Minnesota Vikings,
just, hypothetically, maybe, if it was, they would not be able to replay assist and add that flag to it. If they threw the flag and said, "Oh, actually, he didn't get his face mask. He got like around the side of his helmet," they can take it off. Um, so I kind of get it because they don't want to keep slowing the game down and wanting these people in booths and in other towns just adding flags to referees that didn't see it and just making left and right thousand flag. But being able to correct a mistake, I kind of get it. I wanted more. I wanted more things like 15-yard penalties can be reviewed and can be challenged. I think we've talked about that before, but it's in the right direction. So I'm happy with what they're trying to where, for a good example, on the challenge flag potential, that if there was a DPI against a offensive pass interference AJ Brown had in the Super Bowl, which wasn't a pass interference. He just was bigger than the corner. Replay assist can go in and say, hey, that actually wasn't. That's a first down. Move on. That would have changed that play. Um, Flip side to it with the Sam Darnold thing, no flag was thrown. So that just kind of incentivizes the referees to do their job as well as they can. And if they make a mistake, replay assist can fix their mistake. My fear, though, is that the referees might get flag happy, trigger happy, say, hey, I'm going to throw it. If it's wrong, replay assist will fix it. And that could slow the game down a little bit. Hopefully, they don't get trigger happy with the flags. But maybe they'll be a little bit more emboldened to say, I think that was a flag. And before, if they didn't throw it with replay assist, be able to fix it. Maybe they will. I don't know. But in the end, I do like the direction it's going. It's going to fix some bad calls, but I don't think it was quite enough. I think they need more.
that's interesting. I'm just trying to think through this situation. And to me, in
Hmm.
my mind, I would rather the NFL, to me, if I was making a change, I would rather the
Hmm.
NFL reviews penalties they did not call.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that way it's only for it would have to be egregious.
Hmm.
It would have
Hmm.
to be something because the referee crew doesn't have time to go back for ticky tack holding calls or
Right.
blocking the back, or it would have to be obvious. Like, how did
Hmm.
you clearly miss this pass interference down the field? Or how did you clearly miss this holding call when that player was
Hmm.
thrown to the ground? And then what I would say is that if you want to, that coaches could challenge penalties they disagree with, but the
Yeah.
onus is on the coach to
I like
challenge
that.
for
Yeah.
penalties they disagree with. I don't know. To
Hmm.
me, I feel like that's a better approach because
Hmm.
I mean, the coaches aren't going to be able to stop everything and be like, "Hey, I want you to review this. There should have been a flag called right here. Or there should have been a flag called right there." That to
Hmm.
me seems unlikely to happen, and it would seem more likely, if you have a situation like, so, for example, if there's a play where you throw the ball deep downfield and it's like, man, it really looked like there's pass interference on that play,
Hmm.
and the refs can't agree. I think that's a great time for the assist crew to come in and say, "Hey, we're going to review this.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you in 10 seconds and let you know, hey, it turns out it was pass interference. Go ahead and throw the flag and move on." Like, I
Hmm.
think something
Hmm.
like that makes more sense. I
Yeah.
don't know. If
Yeah.
that's the way I would
I
do
hear
it,
you.
I know that the NFL does not like this idea of giving or coaches power over the refs and saying, "Hey, you got
Hmm.
the call wrong. I
Hmm.
need you to review this." But it feels natural to me. It,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. This is a step in the right direction, but it's not enough.
yeah.
It's not enough. Now, adding on to it, they did implement some tracking for footballs to where it's going to track first downs now, yard to gain. It's great,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's going to track touchdowns still. I don't think that's included. Could be wrong, but I don't believe I read that it includes crossing the plane of the end zone, which is kind of weird. But I do like that because The big play was Josh Allen, I believe it was against the Chiefs in the playoffs where it looked like he got the first down, but they didn't call him for a first down. And then the fourth down they didn't get it. So it was if that was tracking, they could have gotten the first down. It was close, too hard to tell. Putting a little tracker on the football, not depending on chain crews of 60-year-old guys that can't really see very well. So I do like that direction. But there was one other rule I wanted to touch on that's not NFL yet, but I think it was the UFL who's implementing it, and I think it's fabulous. It's fantastic. I love this idea. And it has to do with onside kicks. So onside kicks, they changed it this past year to where you have to admittedly open up and say, hey, we're doing an onside kick and it has to be in the fourth quarter and you have to be losing. Only way you could do an onside kick. Before it was you could do it anytime. Like I love the times when in the Super Bowl, start of the second half, the Saints, boom, onside kick, get the ball. I love
Yeah.
that. That was awesome. Can't do that anymore. And I think there
No.
was like maybe two recovered onside kicks. Ironically, one was against the Vikings, which that's that's on our special teams. That was a horrible play by our tight end. But what is being done in the UFL is, I believe they're removing onside kicks and they're implementing, and again, it has to be in the fourth quarter and you have to be tied or losing. It can't just be any time, but to where you can get the ball on your own 28-yard line on offense on a 4th and 12. You get the first down, you continue your drive. If not, the other team gets the ball on your 28. I love that. I love that so much that it can be fine-tuned because 4th and 12 isn't too difficult to get. I think getting an onside kick is much harder than a 4th and 12. They might need to push that out to like a 4th and 15, 4th and 20, something like that to make it, it's a hard play, but still obtainable. 4th and 12 seems too easy. But I love it on your own side of the field to where if you don't get it, the other team is in field goal range already. And if you do get the first down, you're not in field goal range yet. You still got to
You still got to
continue
go
to
down the field.
drive. You still got to
Yeah.
drive. Yeah. So I love that idea that they're doing. And this is how the NFL started their dynamic kickoff was because UFL or a different league started it, and so they took it from them or they copied it. So I'm hoping, please, because the onside kick is so boring because 99% of the time we know what's going to happen. Especially now with the rules being it has to be openly stated and it only could be when you're trailing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
With this, you can say, hey, we want to get the ball 4th and 17 on our 20-yard line. Okay, go for it. If you don't get it, they get the ball on the 20. I love that idea. I love it. It's going to make things so much, if that happens, it'd be so much more fun than an onside kick.
Yeah. I think that that would be a major improvement. And by the way, my beloved Philadelphia Eagles have brought this rule change to the NFL for like the past 3 years, and each
Okay,
year have been
it
met
gets
with a
declined.
big fat no.
Yep, yep.
And I think the best argument I've heard for why people don't like it is what if there's a penalty? What if there's a face mask?
That is
What
a
if there's
fair
a
thing.
PI?
That is a fair thing. Yes.
And I
That would have to
don't
be ironed out to
know.
see how that could work. Yeah.
I don't know how you rectify that because, I mean, someone
Mm-hmm.
said, well, maybe you just replay the down, but you know, it's a fourth and
Mm.
six as opposed to a 4th and 12. Well, what if there's a deep ball that's 50 yards down the field, the receiver's wide open,
Mm-hmm.
the cornerback just thinks, I'm going to swallow and take the PI so that
Mm-hmm.
way they can't get this first down.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very solid point. Very
I
solid point
don't
against it.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know how you work that out. I don't know how you
Mm-hmm.
figure that out because, I mean, goodness, it's tough. It's really tough. But I think they got to figure out a way to let it happen. They need to take a
Mm-hmm.
look at it and they need to recognize the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I know it should be hard to get the ball back after you're kicking off. It shouldn't be something that's instantaneous, but it also shouldn't be impossible.
Right.
It's
Right. And
not
the
good for the
onside kick is
sport either
basically
way.
impossible.
Well, it's a formality. I mean, really, at this
Mm-hmm.
point, it's truly a
Pretty much.
formality,
Pretty
and
much.
you know what the end result will be unless there's a miracle. The tight end had
Mm-hmm.
glue, or not glue, but like, butter on his hands, or
Yep. Or the ball happened to bounce super crazy high, and you
yes,
guys had a chance to maybe get there.
or there's a freak fumble where the tight end or wide
Mhm.
receiver had it in his
Like
hands
it
and then
happened
it
with
just squeaks
Minnesota.
out. No personal resentment
No. Hey, we still won the
grudges
game,
there.
luckily. But yeah, our tight end, when the ball traveled 8 yards, not 10, traveled 8 yards, he went to go grab it and it went through his hands, and the Chicago wouldn't grab it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that something's got to change because the onside kick is too boring. They got to figure something out. Maybe,
Speak.
yeah, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying maybe they need to push the um, defensive side on the onside kick back a little bit. Like
Mm.
instead of them right there, back them up 2 yards. I don't know. Something's got to
I
change.
could see that. I could see that. Yeah, I mean, it's they need to be open to making a change. They need to be open to trying
Hmm.
something new, seeing how it works. The one part I will say that I saw, another rule that I was happy to see them considering is it looks like they're going to talk about allowing regular season overtime be the same
I
as
saw that.
postseason
Yeah,
overtime.
that needs to happen. That needs to happen because it's just the luck of a coin flip that you have a chance to win in overtime in the regular season. Because if you lose the coin flip, well, looks like the Chiefs scored a touchdown, we lose. All right, good game, guys. Woohoo! As opposed to in the playoffs, you still get the ball. You have a chance. I like that. Both teams need a chance. They just need a chance.
Yeah.
It can't just end if one team gets the ball and they throw a bomb and it happens to be caught.
Well, and I just think about it's just so ironic to me how the NFL clearly does not want to take the L on overtimes. They don't want to take the
Mm-hmm.
L that they've been wrong on overtimes the entire time
Mm-hmm.
and that college has gotten it right.
I love the
And
college overtime.
it's so good. It's so good.
Hmm.
Almost every college overtime game I've watched, I've thought this is outstanding. Like
It's
the format,
compelling. It's
the
fun.
fill,
Hmm.
you really don't know who's going to win. But
5 overtimes, 6 overtimes. So much
it,
fun.
it's just ironic because the college last year swallowed their pride and admitted the 2 minute warning was a good idea and
Mm.
implemented it,
Hmm.
went with it. I think they call it the 2 minute timeout or something like that. They actually can't use the same name because of copyright. So I think that's funny.
Right.
But it, they totally take the like humble pie of saying, "Hey, we were wrong. We should have a
Hmm.
2 minute warning," and they embrace it, implement it. But here's the NFL in reverse, needing to
Yep.
acknowledge that they've gotten the overtime thing wrong. But hey,
Hmm.
we're the big bag at NFL. We don't take
Yep.
advice. We don't take
Yep. We
suggestions or
give it.
guidance from the college. Exactly. We don't take it from the college football level. We're not the ones that deal with NIL crap or recruiting. Like we've got a way
Uh,
better system. And
that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
but and I don't mean to take us down that path, but it's just ironic to me how
Hmm.
one will take an idea and say, "Hey, this is actually a good idea. We're going to take this," and then other one's looking at it saying, "I know this would be better. I know games would end better, but because
Hmm.
we didn't come up with it, we are not going to use it." Like that just
We'll figure something else
blows
out.
my mind. Hey,
Uh-huh.
actually, this made me think of something. I've told many friends about this, but if I
Hmm.
could make a plea for like football overtime formatting, let's say it doesn't work out after the first possession's back and forth, I would
Hmm.
do a penalty kick style thing between both teams where maybe
Oh,
you
the
have them kick.
kickers.
Oh, no,
That
no, no.
is.
I would do something different. I would give
Oh,
each kicker one kick, but then you have to have, just like with penalty kicks, a bunch of other
someone
players on
else.
the team kick the kicks. Could you
That'd be
imagine
funny to watch.
Could you imagine the Sunday or the Monday or Tuesday film session as the coach is making fun of players who have talked about how much better they are than their kicker or punter on the team? It'll
Hmm.
never ever end, especially those
Hmm.
moments where a player shanks a kick. Uh, I mean, they will
Hmm.
never,
That'd
those
be
kickers
funny.
will never live it down. I just think that'd be amazing. It'll never happen, but it would be
That'd be
awesome.
fun to watch. That'd be fun to watch.
I would love it. Especially as they put like the big green check and the X on the screen as someone's
Yep.
making and missing the kicks. Oh, that would be
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
I would love it.
And then it keeps going back and back, and it keeps getting tied. Like all three guys kicked it from 30. All right, back up to 40. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
All right. Do we want to touch on the combine a little bit now, or are there other
Yeah,
rules we need to look at?
I think those are the main rules. I don't think there's anything else
Okay.
that we could. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see, right? We'll have to see what the rules
Mm-hmm.
actually come out with, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
cover the tush puss sissy voting once we actually get to that point. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's it for rules.
Okay. Okay. Well, the main thing that I love about the combine, so all these athletes doing all their drills, all their tests, which it's important, but it's not the most important thing. I think on the field play is the most important thing.
Mhm.
But what I love is these behind the scenes conversations at these bars after the drills are over or before, where these GMs talk to each other, talk to agents, and they're colluding illegally, but everyone does it. And that is when deals get made before free agency starts. Because it's just odd to, great example, last year the second, literally the second it starts, Kirk Cousins has a deal with the Falcons already. Like
Mhm.
all the paperwork's already up and written in. This whole contract's done, and he signs it the second it opens. You can't tell me there was conversations beforehand. So it happens. Everyone knows it happens, and it starts at the combine. This is and the NFL does it brilliantly with the tag season with franchise tag because it lasts through the combine. So teams get to talk to these agents, talk to these other teams. Hey, you want this guy? Like the Vikings are doing right now. Quasey's talking to everybody. That's probably why he's saying he has options. So that is my personal favorite thing about the combine.
Mhm.
These athletes doing these drills, it's really good to see these 40 times, the cone times, bench press, seeing these athletes in person. But nowadays, a lot of these guys are skipping the combine. They're just doing their pro workouts because the
Mhm.
pro workouts are more derived to them, customized
Mhm.
to them instead of something random receiver you don't know their name to, you're throwing this go route to, and the ball is going to be a little off because you have chemistry. Instead, you work with your receivers and you look much better. It makes sense. I don't really like it. I think everyone should do the combine and their own pro workout. That
Mhm.
way they can show, hey, I can work with anyone, not just drills and scenarios designed by my crew.
Mhm.
So I think Shedeur Sanders already said he's not throwing. Thinking, man, that's a bad look in my opinion. It's a bad look. Why aren't you throwing? Are you not going to look good? Is there something you don't want people to see? I don't know. I don't know. That's just my viewpoint on it.
Mhm.
I think it's slightly weak to not do some of these drills at the combine. Unless you're injured. Like I think that Penn State edge rusher was talking. There was news
Carter.
going out that he had Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a foot problem. I think apparently he doesn't need surgery, but he's probably not going to do much combine stuff now. But that's okay. You're hurt. Make sure you're recovered in time for the draft and your new season, new football team. Like I get that, but I'm going to turn it back to my guy, JJ McCarthy. He did all those drills at the combine. I think he didn't do the 40, but he threw at the
For the
combine.
record, he has not played an NFL snap yet. So let's slow the brakes a little
Preseason
bit,
snap.
Andrew.
He played a lot of preseason
Uh
snaps.
you
But
can't you
I
can't buy into the preseason.
I
That's
I
not a
love this
good.
kid's makeup. I mean, his talent, we'll see how it plays on the field, but his personality and his makeup is beautiful. I love it. His leadership, the way he works harder than anyone. It's just awesome. It, and Kevin O'Connell is going to work with him so well. Anyway, that's not the topic, but I love what I see and hear about JJ McCarthy. But he threw at the combine, even though he didn't need to, because he has all this tape from Michigan. He has his own pro day. He threw at the combine and looked really good. Why are these guys skipping it? I don't know. It seems a little weak to me. That's just my opinion on it.
I mean, I agree with. I agreed with about 90% with what you shared. Your little JJ McCarthy moment, Andrew, reminded me of when the Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA Cup and like had a big, huge celebration about winning a midseason trophy that meant
Uh-huh.
absolutely nothing and led to nothing for the franchise. It still ended in a bitter season for the team
Well,
last
the
year.
good news for you is it's not going to stop. So,
I just anyway, I'm happy for you and your confidence in JJ McCarthy, and I think he's great. But it is really important that we make sure everyone knows that at least one of our hosts remembers that he has not played in an true NFL game yet. We've got to see how he looks coming back. But
everyone said
touching
Sam
back,
Darnold was a bust. Anyway, continue.
anyway, I am not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Typical.
So coming back to the conversation about the
Hmm.
combine, I do agree with
Yes.
you that I think it's really important that players show off their skills. But I'm also the type of guy that when Cam Ward chose to say I'm not playing in the second half, I'm dinging him as a coach.
Hmm.
That is a
Hmm.
it's not a one for one, and I want to make sure I point that out. It's not a one for one, but it gives me Anthony Richardson vibes.
I knew you were going there. I knew you were going there because him taking off that play or two in that
Yeah,
game. Hmm.
that's just
Yeah.
it. That's how it felt. It did not feel good. It
Hmm.
did not feel like Cam Ward talked about how you remember the teams that pass him up. Well, how about you remember the time that you ditched
Everybody
your
does.
team and literally led to them losing that game? Like
Hmm.
there are players that will not play in as big of a game as that. I'm not saying that was a huge game, but for many it was a big game. It might be the biggest
Hmm.
game of the rest of their lives. And you literally
Yep.
chose to say, now that I got my stats, I don't care. I don't care
Yep.
what the end result
Very
is.
selfish.
It
Hmm.
just comes off so egotistical. If your
Yep.
argument was your health, don't play at all. Don't
Hmm.
play at all. Don't
Hmm.
worry about your stats. You keep yourself healthy and safe and use that as your, hey, I don't want to put myself in a position where I jeopardize my draft
Hmm.
stock. My family's depending on this. That's totally different than coming in, playing for half the game and then saying, no, I'm out. I just it is and so we talked about this in the last episode, but actually I'm the highest on Jackson Dart going into this draft.
Hmm.
And it for me,
Hmm.
it all comes back to the it factor. You from my perspective, Andrew, like McCarthy because of the it factor. I love
Absolutely.
Jalen Hurts because of the it factor.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
I would
That
say that
leadership,
Jack,
the intangibles. Yeah.
the not crumbling when things get tough. And
Anti
that's
Sam
what I,
Darnold.
but that's what I see with Jackson Dart. I mean, he
Hmm.
played in the
Hmm.
SEC at a high level.
Hmm.
In my opinion, the only reason why Ole Miss didn't have more success is playing against Bama and Georgia and the success those
It's
teams
hard.
have. It's impossible. But with the
Yeah.
success they have had, even with all of those hurdles, that is really impressive. Like that is not something to sneeze at. And
Yeah. I'm
I,
on board with that.
I
Yeah.
like it. And so we talked about Cam Ward and the issues I had with him, but Shadur Sanders, uh, so many analysts around the country phrased that BYU Colorado game as uh,
Mm.
a glorified beauty contest. That the Colorado's going to just come in and beat the crap out of the Cougars. They're not a good
Hmm.
team. They're not well rounded. And
Hmm.
then what happens? The game plays out, and Colorado has one of the worst games they've ever had
Yep.
under Deion Sanders. Just absolutely embarrassed.
They got
Um,
crushed. Yeah.
you ask me, they got way too much hype because they had two Heisman candidates, and both of them were
Hmm.
good players, but I don't think they deserve the near credit they got. Um, I don't
I'm
know. I
fine with
just
that on Shadur. Yeah. I think Shadur's overrated, honestly.
he
If
could
I
be
was going to
good.
rank the quarterbacks right now, I would say I would still give Cam Ward one from his talent. I do hear what you're saying with that personality. That is a question. But I would put Jackson Dart two and then Sanders three. That's me. I'm not I don't believe in Shadur Sanders. I just don't see it.
Yeah. No, I get it. I guess I just, maybe this is how I would compare Jackson Dart coming into the draft. It just kind of reminds me of Bo Nix. I'm not saying the
That's a
same
fair
skill
thought.
sets.
No,
I'm not saying the
that's a
same skill
yeah.
sets,
I
but just
hmm
the calm, collected, he'll be
hmm
consistent. You know that like you look at the trajectory and just going to continue to build. Whereas like I think that Shadir like he's more enticing because the impact is could be more immediate. He's got the
hmm
legs as far as to be able to run around. He has a good arm.
hmm
I think Cam is the same thing, but
Right.
I just think long term, which is what every NFL team should be approaching their decision making based
hmm
off of, is the long term. I think Jackson has the best chance. I combine the factors. I think NFL teams don't value maturity enough when they look at
I
prospects.
completely agree with that.
It matters.
Yeah, it
And the only
really
time I would
does.
say it doesn't matter is, Bill Belichick, right, with the Patriots. I don't think a team like that needed to worry about maturity because that locker room was so uh, mature and well-rounded
hmm
and full of wise players that immature
hmm
players would not outweigh the more
hmm
experienced and disciplined
hmm
ones. But, that doesn't happen very often in the NFL. You don't have many teams that could
Yep.
say that. I mean, so take, for example, the Steelers. I think the Steelers
I
are a
was gonna
great
say the
team,
Steelers. Le'Veon
but
Bell, Antonio Brown, they made it work. They made it work back in the day. But
yeah,
now,
no,
I don't know now.
no.
This Jackson Dart on the Steelers would be great.
I love that. I think that that's a great spot
Yes,
to look
they're
at.
picking like what 21, I think they are, or
Yep,
22 in that range.
yep.
Is that too high for Jackson Dart? Could they maybe get him in the second round? Maybe, but I think that is a good spot for him to land.
I'd have to really think about it. Man, I would not want to miss on Jackson Dart. That he is not
Mhm.
Kenny Pickett. And I think that there might be Steelers fans that go, oh, so this is a Kenny Pickett. No,
Right,
no.
right.
Kenny Pickett was a third round quarterback picked in the first round because he was the only quarterback in that draft.
Basically. And that's
That's
what
how I would
Shadir
categorize
Sanders
it.
and Cam Ward are kind of looking like right now.
I just,
A little bit. I
you
get
know,
those vibes a
and,
little bit.
another thing I just got to touch on for Cam Ward real quick. There was no reason for Miami to not make the ACC championship,
100%.
and
100%.
they crumbled. They
They had a ton of
absolutely
talent.
crumbled. Whereas Ole Miss had everything working against them and almost made the SEC championship. I
Hmm
mean, that is the sign of a great team, and
Yep.
a quarterback has to be part of it. We can look at the Super Bowl and you could talk about the defense, but the Eagles won by as much as they did because of Jalen Hurts. He shined in that moment, and I think there's been moments this past season where Jackson Dart did that, and
hmm
it's tough. There's a lot of things. If Cam Ward matures, if he grows up, if he embraces responsibility, and
100%.
he could be great. I just
100%.
would want to. I
Yep.
would not want to take that gamble, especially because of the fact if you're picking low or high in the draft,
You
you
have a lot of
probably don't
problems.
have a disciplined team. Your team is
Uh-huh.
most likely not disciplined. There's just so many teams I could think of right now. The Saints. I would not say that Derek Carr's played like a disciplined quarterback. He's played like a whiny,
hmm
I struggle with accountability. Someone else is at
Overpaid.
fault. My receiver's not running the right route. My
hmm
linemen aren't blocking for me. It- yeah. So, but I know that was a long tangent, but I thought that that'd be something that would be
Oh
interesting
yeah.
to talk about. So,
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. I would not be surprised if Jackson Dart does sneak into the first round. Someone's
I
gonna want to give him that 5-year contract with that fifth-year option. Almost kind of like what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. No one wanted Lamar Jackson, and then all of a
great
sudden
comparison. Great,
they
great
traded up
comparison.
and picked him 32 overall. So I mean, the Steelers make a lot of sense. I don't think there's a lot of other teams down there in the lower range that does, unless someone trades up out of the second
Hmm.
round, trades with the Eagles maybe or the Chiefs, and say, hey, we'll give you an extra second or something. Let me get back in the first round and get me some Jackson Dart. Makes a ton of sense.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, is that's where I kind of see it happening. Is the Chiefs or Eagles being the teams that work
Yeah.
out a deal
Yeah.
to trade back, and someone goes and gets Jackson Dart. That's what I predict happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because both you guys, the Eagles and the Chiefs, a lot of talent, but there's guys leaving and there's some financial tightness going around a little bit. So the draft is where you solve that. And yeah,
mhm.
getting an extra couple players just by dropping back down 4 or 5 spots. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Like for example, the Titans, they have the number one pick. Do they just take Carter? Do they just take Travis Hunter? And then they have the first pick in the second round, trade up and get Jackson Dart.
I like this. I think that's a good way to approach the situation. I like it. I think that's
Mhm.
very appropriate to think
Or
about.
even better, see, I'm just being the Titans GM now. You're welcome, Titans. Someone is going to be desperate. Someone's going to be stupid and desperate and want to take one of these quarterbacks at one overall. Trade down with them, like trade down with the Giants or something, because you know the Giants are a dumpster fire. Pick up a few extra picks, maybe a next first round next year or something, and then at 3 you still get Carter, you still get Travis Hunter, and you get extra draft picks, and then you still can trade back in and get Jackson Dart. You're welcome, Tennessee. I just solved your problems.
I was going to say, Andrew, I think that all Giants fans are just offended by the fact that you said that the Titans fans can call Giants fans a dumpster fire city. Like,
Well, they both are. They both are. But that's why they're picking one and
you
three.
almost made it sound like Titans are in a better spot. I think that that's debatable.
Well, they do have the number one pick, and if they made the right decision, they'd be in a better spot. If the Giants traded
Yeah.
up with them, the Giants are stupid.
Would they really do that? That would be crazy.
That would be
But
crazy.
it feels like one team every year will make a really crazy
One
high
team will.
draft trade, and you look at it and
Yep.
go, why did they
Why?
trade, six or
Yes.
seven draft picks for two?
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's fair. It's going to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
But this draft is going to be fun. There's a ton of running backs, a ton of defensive linemen. Just so happens those are two really big areas of need for my team. So just perfect timing for us. There's like probably 15, 20 running backs that are legitimately going to get drafted. Asagenti, of course, is the premier, but third round guys are going to be so good. They're going to be immediate starters. And
yeah.
it's going to be so fun. And there's a lot of defense. There's not a lot of quarterbacks, not a lot of receivers. But so many defensive linemen, offensive linemen, there's a few good ones,
Tight
and
ends.
so many running backs. Yeah, there's a few premier tight ends for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
this draft is interesting. It sucks if you need a quarterback this year.
Yeah. So it will be very interesting to follow. I'm excited to
Hmm.
see how things unfold. I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I love getting to watch the trade breakdown of the Jimmy Johnson scoring of how
Oh,
well a team did and how many points is
hmm
that actually worth for the trade.
hmm
I just love breaking that down because
hmm
uh, yeah, back to my college days, I took a couple of classes where we did trading, and you'd have like resources that you'd have to trade other people, but I usually did them the
Okay.
best. So
Okay.
I'm very obsessed with getting fair trades. Um,
Yep. And your boy Roseman does really well. He does really well in
he,
that aspect.
he yeah, he's an incredible GM. I cannot wait to
Mhm.
see what articles come out
Best in
about
the
how he
league.
navigated it and figured it out. And
Hmm.
he's just really good at not getting pressured, into
Hmm.
making bad mistakes. And that's the problem with other GMs in the league is they just make bad
Hmm.
mistakes. They
Yep.
don't think long term. They typically start thinking short term, and they get obsessed with
Hmm.
someone that they think is talented.
Jerry
Uh,
Jones. Mhm.
oh man, yeah, that's such a good example. Yeah, we could drop down another rabbit hole in that one, Andrew. And I would not want to keep
Yes.
everyone listening to me rant about those examples. But
Well, I mean, in a way, we're going to touch on that in our next episode when we talk about that NFLPA survey because
oh
GMs and head
man,
coaches are on that. We're gonna
that
we're gonna get into some of that. That's gonna be fun.
I can't wait to. Is that even real, Andrew? Should we really care about it? I mean, I'm not going to dig into it now because we got another episode. But I get a little feel
Uh-huh.
like it's a little artificial, based on some of the how real are those rankings? How much should we really care about them? Because you look at some of the spots
It's
some
all by
people end up in.
players. It's all done by the players. So they're playing for these guys. They're in these facilities. I do see some legitimacy to it because if you look at some of this stuff and you look at some of these lowest grades, you're thinking that kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense.
I
Like the
hear you,
Browns
but
facility is like they're like F minus or something, and I'm thinking, I get it. That stadium looks awful. It's old. It needs to be redone. And some of the head coaches that are getting bad grades, you're like, yeah, I could see
well, we're
that.
gonna we're gonna have fun talking about the
Oh
Dolphins
yeah. Oh yeah.
because I've been told that Vic Fangio is a trash defensive coordinator. So I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm a little skeptical on some of these grades. Not all of them, but some of
Hmm.
them. Yeah, we'll dig into it next episode. But
Yeah,
I'm
for
just
sure.
curious, Dolphins fans, how's your stellar coaching staff working out for you? How was that 8-9 record?
Mike McDaniel was the hot name that his first year when he had that big win season. Tyreek Hill, the offense looked great, but people figured it out, and he hasn't adjusted.
Oh man, I just my favorite thing with Mike McDaniel. This is my last thought, Andrew, but last thought I have to share
Yes,
this.
yes.
I loved when the Los Angeles Chargers put out their shade video as far as their anime releasing the schedule,
Oh
and they did the
yeah.
short clip of him vaping. Oh, I just love that because it was
Hmm.
totally not just a shot at him, like teasing him about not being serious, but
Hmm.
it kind of just made him look like a kid. Like it was so mean.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if he rebounds. But yeah,
There's a lot of issues over there, and they might be losing one of the best defensive players in Javon Holland. So
I,
yeah, there's a lot more
yeah,
than just their head coach, but he is the number one guy over there, so he's got to figure some things out. And I'm with
definitely.
you. I don't think he can.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get into it too much. There's so much more to get to. I mean,
Yeah.
Jerry Jones breaking down the facilities, breaking down travel,
Uh-huh.
locker rooms, food. Yeah,
Weight
that one's going
rooms,
to
all
be
that stuff.
so much fun. So much fun. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
wait. And you're gonna take a major victory lap, and we'll get your banner ready for your city,
Well,
for your
there's
Minnesota
there's
Vikings team.
really there's really only one I care about the most on that, and that's the head coach one, because that one I completely agree with. Our head coach is top of the line, top line. In fact, quick little side rant here. There was a story that went out from the combine just I think today or yesterday, where I think it's agents talking with all the GMs, like having a conversation about some players. And Kwesi was sick. He couldn't attend these meetings. Kevin O'Connell had to attend them. And there was reporting that these meetings went better than last year when Kwesi was there because KOC was so prepared. Just, I can't rate about him enough. He's phenomenal. He's got to win in the playoffs. He's not perfect. He hasn't done that yet, but he's such a great leader, so mature, so smart. I love KOC. So him getting A plus, I completely agree with that. Some of the others, okay, I could see it, maybe, but head coach, absolutely. We got a good one.
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree with you. He's an awesome guy. So I look
Hmm.
forward to digging into all of the scores
Yes.
next time we chat.
Next time. Well, I think that's it for today. Dug into the combine, dug into the rules. We'll be back next time for probably the NFLPA survey. We'll look at some free agency stuff, a lot to get into. Thank you guys for joining us today on the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see everybody.